So Fluent Forms recently updated their plugin with some styling features, and it really makes it easy to create unbelievably good looking forms in a very small space of time. So to get there, it's very easy. You can go to your form. If you go straight to the preview window, it'll take you to the preview immediately, and on that screen you will see the styler on the right hand side. So if you want to see what it looks like when you're done, you can click on preview only and you'll see the form on its own as normal. If you want to go back to the editor, click on edit fields. So to style the form, you can either select from these pre-made styles, which are pretty standard layouts for styles and quite conservative, or you can go in for custom or advanced optimization. And in here, you can style just about anything on the form. It has the general tab and then it has the miscellaneous tab. So the miscellaneous tab looks at the container styles, the asterisk, inline error messages, after submit, success, and error messages. But before starting to style a form, it's really cool because you can come in here and go to the container styles. You can have a look at the background color. So with this color picker, you can immediately come in, choose the background color that you want for your form. Once you have the background color, you can set a margin, or in this case, we just like a bit of space between the form and the edge of the form. So let's make that 30 pixels. And what we might also want to do is get rid of this black margin around the side. So what we would do then is go to the border. And here you can choose from different borders, or you can come in and just change that to 0. And if you want to give your form as kind of a softer edge, softer corners, there you go. We've created a softer edge. And that's all that you really need to do for the background. Once you're done there, you can head on over back to the front end of the form. And it starts with the label styles. So once again here, we can come in and we can change the labels. You can see how they change just by dragging and dropping. So we can drag it along here and take it back to maybe the darkest color to show that it's a title. We can then head over to typography. We can also make it a little bit bigger. So we could come in here and maybe make it up to 20. We can set the font weights. We can make it slightly lighter. We can transform uppercase, lowercase, decorations, line heights, letter spacing. So everything you need to set the typography. Once that's done, we can have a look at the input and text area. Now, either start there or start with the placeholder text. So this is the text that'll be visible once the person has finished typing in their details. And while typing in their details, there's a focus screen. Now the focus screen is visible while you're busy typing. So the normal mode will be what's visible after typing. So maybe there we want to make that a slightly darker color. So we'll say, right, well, let's make that, let's say just for demo purposes, let's make that red. And the background color, what we'll do is we'll make that sort of a mid-gray. Now you'll see that we still can't see what that will look like. So what we do is we just type in some information here, and you can see that the red is coming through. Now that we have that, we might want to look at, okay, what are we going to do on the focus page? So on the focus page, we'll say, right, when we're busy typing, let's change that. We can make that black. We can then make the color yellow just to show that we're busy typing. Once again, typography, and also there's a box shadow option. You can also then use custom border styles. You can make, so what we could do here, for example, we could come in and say, right, while we're typing, let's make it really dark, and let's change the border to a double line. Now when we click on a field, you'll see that we now have the black background to indicate which field has the focus when we're busy typing. What we can also do then is change that border color. So if we make that red as well, now you'll see that there is that very slight red border around the field that we're busy typing into. Once that's done and you're happy, you can move on to the placeholder. So the placeholder is the text that's visible as you see it there now in each of those fields. So we do want to keep it slightly light. We don't want to go too dark. And also, once again, you'll see that as we move the mouse around, that color also changes. So let's, just for demo purposes, let's make that blue. So we can see that the blue still has to be done. Once again, you have all the typography options that you could possibly need to style that. If we have a look at the radio and checkboxes, we can enable the Smart UI, then we can change the border color. So let's make all of those red, and we can also change the check background color. So let's change the background color once checked to red as well. So if I come in and I select something, very clear, very easy to see that that has been checked, selected. There we have it. What we can also do is then, once we've done with that, we can check the submit button style. And here you might want to go for something that's, say, the full width of the page. Very quickly, we can do that. You might say, well, that's great, but I do prefer a little bit more padding, so no problem. We can come in then and also go to the typography, and we could go for nice big text. And we might, for argument's sake, want to have a little bit of a box shadow. So let's just do something very subtle. So 2, 2, 2, 2. And for color, let's go with black. And there we have our shadow on the button. We can also come in and check out the border type for our button. So we can go for different border types, and then we can also change the border color. But if we don't want the border, we can put a 0 in there, and we can also change the radius. So if we don't want that softer edge, we can make a nice square border. If we want to then keep that theme of the square border throughout the whole form, we can just go back to our input and text area. We can say use custom border styles, make that 0, and now all our fields have the solid edge. We can also come in here, and maybe we don't want a border around, and there we have a much softer feel to the form. So very easy to style, very easy to create the form and get it to look exactly the way that you want. The one thing that you can't do, however, is adjust the distance of that label from the edge. So the labels are always aligned on the left-hand side with the edge of the input field. You can't move them to the center or align them to the right. But everything else that you need to do is possible. So if you don't have Fluent Forms yet, I would highly recommend that you go and get your copy of Fluent Forms. The other nice thing now is that if I've saved my settings and I want to go back to my form, there are two options. I can look at the preview only. I can test it. I can then also go back to edit fields, and that will take me back to the main design area. As you can see here, the styling is not applied, but if we go back to our preview and design, you'll see that the styling is visible. Great, so that wraps up the styling.